Hello and welcome to this video from the second entry that we have prepared to explain, in general, everything related to our challenge. Winning is possible if we want to confirm in the present that by managing your bets professionally, you put in a position of advantage and you consistently achieve good results. Testing it in the past and in the present is mandatory because, as we all know, past results do not guarantee present or future results. That is the goal of the challenge. Test currently before starting to replicate. Like the way we are going to present. The updates and its results will vary according to each league. What suggest you is that you subscribe to our YouTube channel or social media called The Second Entry so that you receive it automatically.
Today, September 3rd, the challenge Winning is Possible begins. In other words, it is day number 1. During the challenge, the results will be published and updated of the following fields: total number of bets made, total number of open or ongoing bets, total number of bets won, total number of lost bets, which should be 0, and total accumulated winnings. ADACT is the abbreviation of the initials in Spanish of professionally managed sports betting. According to its concept, a professionally managed sports bet, or ADAPT, it is a type of combined bet linked to a rigorously tested selection method to which you apply knowledge, techniques, tools, and where you only need to get it right, one of the plays to win the bet. These are the parts that make up an ADAPT, and they must be applied in an integrated manner. I am referring to the knowledge, techniques, and tools. First, we are going to link it to the Emperor's method, and subsequently to the 3-level method. The professional management of sports betting. It can be linked to any method. The only requirement is that this method has been rigorously tested beforehand to confirm that it works. Our promise is that you will discover how to earn more than 400% each year, without relying on luck, and without being affected by volatility in sports betting. So to make our first bet, search for the website covers.com. Since 1995, it has specialized in information on sports betting odds. And then click on the Sports button. Next, a menu will pop up with the different sports leagues. On this occasion, we are going to interact with the National Women's Basketball Association. By clicking on it, a submenu will pop up in which we are going to select the score and matchup option, which is most used because it allows you to see the results and the upcoming matchups. So the name of the first entry is Compte Block. This entry will apply exclusively when continuous streaks of 5 positions are created, only in the handicap betting or ATS mode, and only in the leagues of the sports where it is played: basketball, American football, and soccer. Now, before making our first play, we're going to present a map that serves as a guide when the entry Compte Block is being applied. The goal is to provide a step-by-step description to show how simple the process is. The first thing we want to make clear is that we are making an ADAPT linked to the Emperor's method, which means a combined bet, in which we only need to get it right, a play to win. And as we said, we're going to apply it in the leagues where basketball is played, American football, and soccer, and only in the ATS betting format, which is also called handicap or spread. Regarding the process, we can say that it is very simple, since to apply the entry, we just have to wait that a streak is created that has a match of 5 results with consecutive wins, or one that has 5 consecutive losses. To then continue with the process by applying the tool. Capital distribution table, which has a range of 11 positions, in which we have 11 opportunities to make a play. Betting on a result opposite to the growth of the streak. For it to end. So in the matchup between Seattle and Connecticut, we're going to make our first sports bet, professionally managed, or adapt in yellow, because it's an open or ongoing bet. But first we need to click on the Seattle team, so that it shows us their past results. Well, here we are with the past results of the Seattle team in the 2024 season. If you remember in the entry count block, in the process to apply the entry, we just had to wait for a match to be created with 5 consecutive wins or losses, to then continue with the process by applying the tool, distributive capital table, which has a range of 11 positions, in which we have 11 opportunities to make a successful play. Betting on an opposing outcome that ends the streak. So, like in the period from July 14th to August 20th, a correlation is created with 5 consecutive losses from Seattle. We can make our first bet using the entry count block, and if observed directly up to today's date, September 3rd, we have lost in the first 4 opportunities. Betting on the opposite outcome, that the streak comes to an end, because the streak continued to grow. But we still have 7 more opportunities to try to make a play and win the bet. And to find out the dates of those next 7 games, we need to click on the Upcoming Games tab. In this table, we have the dates and times of the 7 upcoming games that the Seattle team will play. And beside it, a list with the names of the teams that they will face on each date. The map instruction that describes the procedures is precise and tells us that we must bet on the opposite result that ends the streak's growth. So we have to bet in each of those 7 matchups that Seattle wins in any of them. So this morning of September 3rd, in the matchup between Seattle and Connecticut, we're going to bet again that Seattle wins. Using our 5th opportunity. This baseball game is going to take place, as I already said, at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And here I want to clarify a very important point. Well, we are submitting the professional management of bets under test in the present. I mean that it is being carried out, a real-time bet of a team that is being selected in the morning and going to play at night. So it is unknown what the outcome will be. So what I want to clarify is that in this challenge, all the bets, we are going to make them in the present in real time. But with the exception of day 1 and 2, we are going to use past results, with the purpose of explaining the procedures step by step. For different entry techniques of the Emperor's method, of which you will surely be surprised by the power that each of them has. In summary, starting from day 3, no more bets on the past, because from there on, we will go daily to put the Emperor's method to the test. And the 3-level method, in thousands of bets during the challenge, only in real time. Having clarified this point, we can continue. The instruction of the table, in the 5th position or play, is that we bet 1,017 units of entry of the legal currency circulating in your country. The distributive table of capital. It's a very valuable tool and fundamental in this process. During the challenge, we're going to explain how it works and what it's for. But I have to let you know, which has the characteristic of flexibility. because there are two procedures to adapt it to any budget and to adapt it to your budget. You just need to know those two procedures. So following the instruction from the capital distribution table, we're going to bet 1,017 units that Seattle wins. Next, we have to wait for a result in that matchup and show it on day 2. We also need to update the overall table. In the field of bets placed, now the amount is 1, and in the field of open bets, it is also 1. The values of the other 3 fields remain the same, because so far we don't have any winning bets, neither losses nor any games to record. So while we wait for the result of the first adapt, we're going to test this entry with a block. In the NBA League, in each of the 30 teams that make up this league, in the regular season, 2023 to 2024, which is recent. Let's start then with the first team on the list, which is Boston. Ready, Ben? To make our second sports bet. Professionally managed. Or adapt in yellow. Because it is an open or ongoing bet. With the Boston team in the 2023 season. Recent 2024. Pay close attention. Although the start of this season was October 25th. It is not until the period of November 17th, until November 24th, that a concordance was created that allows us to apply the entry can't block. Because during that period Boston lost 5 consecutive games. Now we are going to use the map that serves as our guide, providing us with a step-by-step description of the process. When we are applying this entry with block, we have 11 opportunities to apply the tool. Capital distribution table. Betting on an opposite outcome, that the continuous streak comes to an end. Now then, the question is, what we are going to bet on in each of those 11 matchups. The answer is that Boston wins in any of them, at least in one position. So let's see what happened. This is what happened, as soon as in the first opportunity or play. November 26th. Boston wins, which ends the streak's growth. And we won the second adapt. It also changes the status or color of this adapt to green. Because it is no longer a bet in progress. Now it is a winning bet. But how much has been won? The instruction of the table. In the first position or play, is that we bet 14 units. And the total payout is 26. But to calculate our profit, we must subtract the 14 that we bet. So we carry out the operation, and it gives us a result that we have 112 units. Lastly, before moving on to the next adapt, we need to update the general table. The field of bets placed is now 2. The field of open bets remains at 1. The total number of bets won is now 10 lost bets. And we made a profit of 12 units. The next adapt is number 3, in which we continue with Boston in their regular season, 2023-2024, and where we had to wait until the period of February 14th to the 1st of March for the next agreement to be created. This time with 5 consecutive wins from Boston. Now, the fact that we already know the procedures allows us to simplify the process and go directly to the results. So if we look at our first opportunity, we lost because Boston won again, and the streak continued to grow. But on the second opportunity, Boston loses, and an opposite result occurs. That ends the growth of the streak, with which on March 5th we won the third adapt. And since now it's a winning bet, we updated the status of its color to green. Coincidentally this time, so that the next agreement could be created, we only had to wait 2 days. This due to the period of March 9th to March 17th. Boston wins 5 consecutive games again, with which our fourth adapt is put into motion. And just like in the previous adapt, it loses in the first position, because Boston keeps winning. And it wins in the second, when Boston loses, and that opposite result ends the growth of the streak. So we update the color to green right away, and we are going to calculate the earnings. Pay close attention. Both bets were won in the second play or position, in which 49 units were wagered. The total payout was 93, but we must subtract 63 that we have been betting. So we carry out the operation, and it results in us having 130 units in each of the bets. In other words, a total of 60. We update in the general table. The field of bets placed is now 4. The field of open bets remains at 1. The total number of bets won is now 30 lost bets. And we obtain 60 units of profit more for a total of 72. In summary, we found 3 matches in the past results from the Boston team, and in all 3 we had positive results. So let's continue with the next one on the list, which is Brooklyn. Okay, adapt number 5, in which we continue with Brooklyn, and where practically we didn't have to wait at all for it to be created. The first concordance, because from the first day of the season, from October 25th to November 3rd, Brooklyn wins 5 consecutive victories. Here we observe the letter P that appears in the first position, and it means push or tie. And we will always omit or ignore it and skip, because its result is null. So in our first 2 opportunities, we lost, because Brooklyn won again 2 times in a row, and the streak continued to grow. But in the third opportunity, Brooklyn loses and an opposite result occurs, which ends the growth of the streak, with which on November 10th we won the 5th adapt. And since now it's a winning bet, we updated the status of your color to green, and we are going to calculate the earnings for this position 3. Pay close attention. This bet was won on the third play or position, on which 132 units were wagered. The total payout was 252. But we must subtract the 195 that we have been betting, and it results in us having 157 units. When updating the overall table again, the field of bets placed is now 5. The field of open bets remains at 1. The total number of bets won is now 4, 0 lost bets. And we obtained 57 more units of profit, for a total of 129. Subsequently, Brooklyn creates 2 matches that we can see in this same table. One that corresponds to the adapt number 6, and another that corresponds to our adapt number 7. The first in the period, from December 14th to December 22nd, and the second in the period from December 26th to January 2nd. In both periods, Brooklyn lost 5 consecutive games. As soon as in the first position, Brooklyn wins that matchup and takes the 6th adapt, because the growth of the streak comes to an end, with that opposite result. In adapt number 7, they win, with the opposite result. That occurs on the second play. Well then, now we need to add up the winnings. I mean the 12 units we won in the first adapt, with the first play, and the 30 we won in the second position in the second play. That operation totals 42 units. That immediately, we're going to add to the total accumulated earnings. But first we update the field of bets placed at 7, the one for bets won at 6. Finally, we add these 42 to our total accumulated earnings, and it leaves us at 171. In summary, we also found 3 matches in the past results of the Brooklyn team, and in all 3, we had positive results. So let's continue with the next one on the list, which is New York. And its first match corresponds to adapt number 8. With this team, we had to wait for the period of January 1st to January 9th, where New York won 5 consecutive games. And it was one with the opposite result that occurred on the first play. Subsequently, New York creates 2 matches that we can observe in this same table. One that corresponds to adapt number 9, and another that corresponds to our adapt number 10. The first one in the period from January 20th to January 29th, and the second one in the period from February 3rd to February 12th. In the first period, New York wins 5 consecutive games, and in the second, they lose 5 in a row. The adapt of the first period is won on the third play, and in the second period on the second opportunity. Well then, now we need to add up the winnings. I'm referring to the 12 units that we won in adapt number 8 on the first play, at 50:07 that we won in adapt number 9 on the third play, and the 30 that we won in adapt number 10. In second place, the total sum of the winnings amounts to 99 units. Now we need to add those winnings to the ones we already have accumulated. But first, let's update the field of bets placed at 10, the field of winnings at 9, and finally, the total accumulated winnings at 270. In summary, 3 matches were also created in the past results from the New York team, and in all 3, we had positive results. So let's continue with the next one on the list, which is Philadelphia. Adapt number 11, which corresponds to Philadelphia, and where we practically didn't have to wait at all for the first concordance to be created, because from the first day of its season, from October 26th to November 4th, Philadelphia wins 5 consecutive victories. Here we see that we lose the first 2 plays, and we win on the third. So that adapt number 12 could be created. We had to wait for the period of December 8th to December 16th, where Philadelphia won 5 consecutive games. If we observe this play, we won it on the first opportunity. It's not the same case for adapt number 13, when a concordance was created in the period since March 27th to April 4th, where Philadelphia won 5 consecutive games, and then continued winning 5 more, which caused that streak to keep growing. And we lost the first 5 games. But in our 6th opportunity, Philadelphia loses, and we win. This is adapt number 13. Once again, we need to add up the gains. I mean, to the 30 units we earned in adapt number 11 in the second play, to the 12 we earned in adapt number 12 in the first play, and at 877 that we won in the adapt number 13 in 6th place. The total sum of the winnings amounts to 919 units. We updated the number of bets made to 13, the number of bets won to 12, and finally, we add these 919 to the 270 accumulated. And it gives us a total of 1,189 units so far. In summary, we also created 3 matches in the past results of the Philadelphia team, and in all 3, we had positive results. Let's continue then with the next one on the list, which is Toronto. Toronto creates only 2 matches which we can observe in this same table. One that corresponds to the adapt number 14, and another that corresponds to our adapt number 15. The first one in the period from March 13th to March 22nd, and the second one in the period from March 25th to April 3rd. In both periods, Toronto loses 5 consecutive games, and in both, Toronto wins with an opposite result. In the first play, we add up the earnings, ani, to the 12 units we earned in adapt number 14 in the first play, and to the 12 we earned in adapt number 15, also in the first play. The total sum of the earnings is 24 units. Next, we updated the betting field to 15. The 1 bets to 14. And finally, we add these 24 to the 1189 accumulated. And it gives us a total of 1,213 units so far. In summary, only 2 matches were created in the past results from the Toronto team, and in both we had positive results. So let's continue with the next one on the list, which is Atlanta. And even though we have positive results so far, we must complete the test because we need to. Seeing is believing, and testing to confirm. Well, we continue showing results. This time it's Atlanta's turn. That creates 2 matches that we can observe in this table. One that corresponds to adapt number 16, and another that corresponds to our adapt number 17. The first in the period of November 26th to December 6th, and the second in the period of December 16th to December 29th. In both periods, Atlanta loses 5 consecutive games. The adapt of the first period is won on the 4th play, and the one from the second period on the second opportunity. Subsequently, creates 2 more matches again that we can observe in this table. One that corresponds to the adapt number 18, and another that corresponds to our adapt number 19. In both periods, Atlanta loses 5 consecutive games, and in both, Atlanta wins with an opposite result. On the first play, we add up the gains. I'm referring to the 141 units that we won in adapt number 16 on the 4th play, to the 30 that we won in adapt 17 on the 2nd play, and to 12 that we won in 18 and 19 respectively. The total sum of the gains for Atlanta is 195 units. We updated the betting field to 19. The one for winnings to 18. The total of lost bets remains at 0. And we add these 195 to the 1,213 accumulated. And it gives us a total of 1,408 units. In summary, 4 matches were created in the past results of the Atlanta team, and in all 4, we had positive results. So let's continue with the next one on the list, which is Charlotte. This team, Charlotte, it creates 2 matches that we can observe in this table. One that corresponds to the adapt number 20, and another that corresponds to our adapt number 21. The first one in the period from January 5th to January 14th, and the second one in the period from January 24th to January 31st. In both periods, Charlotte loses 5 consecutive games, and in both, Charlotte wins with an opposite result. In the third play, subsequently, Charlotte creates her last match. That corresponds to the adapt number 22, in the period from March 15th to March 25th. During that period, Charlotte loses 5 consecutive games, and as soon as in the first play, the adapt is won with an opposite result. We add up the winnings. I am referring to the 57 we won in adapts number 20 and 21, both on the third play, and the 12 we won in the adapt Number 22 on the first play. The total sum of the winnings for Charlotte gives 126 units. Next, we updated the betting field to 22, the one for winnings to 21, and finally, we add these 126 to the 1408 accumulated. And it gives us a total of 1,534 units. In summary, 3 matches were created. In the past results of the Charlotte team, and in all 3, we had positive results. So let's continue with the next one on the list, which is Miami. Miami creates its first match, which corresponds to adapt number 23. In the period from October 28th to November 6th, during that period, Miami loses 5 consecutive games. And as soon as on the first play, 12 points are earned in the adapt with an opposite result. Then it creates its second agreement, which corresponds to adapt number 24. In the period from October 28th to November 6th, during that period, Miami loses 5 consecutive games, and on the third play, they win 57 more for a subtotal of 69. Then he or she creates his or her third and final agreement, which corresponds to the adapt number 25. In the period from February 6th to February 14th, during that period, Miami loses 5 consecutive games, and on the fifth play, they win 322 more, for a total of 391. We update the number of bets placed to 25, the number of winnings to 24, and finally, we add these 391 to the 1534 accumulated. And it gives us a total of 1925. In summary, 3 matches were created in the past results of the Miami team, and in all 3, we had positive results. So let's continue with the next one on the list, which is Orlando. Orlando creates its first match, which corresponds to the adapt number 26. In the period from November 15th to November 22nd, during that period, Orlando loses 5 consecutive games, and in the fourth play, they earn 141 units. Then he creates his second pattern, which corresponds to adapt number 27. In the period from January 28th to February 4th, during that period, Orlando loses 5 consecutive games, and on the first play, he wins 12 more for a subtotal of 153 later on. Orlando creates his last 2 matches, which we can observe in this table. One that corresponds to the adapt number 28 and another that corresponds to our adapt number 29. The first one in the period from February 27th to March 6th, and the second one in the period from March 13th to March 21st. In both periods, Orlando loses 5 consecutive games, and in both, he wins with an opposite result. In the first play, winning 12 units in each adapt for a total of 177. We updated the number of bets made to 29, the number of bets won to 28, and finally, we add these 177 to the accumulated 1925. And it gives us a total of 2,102. In summary, 4 matches were created in the past results of Orlando, and in all 4 we had positive results. So let's continue with the next one on the list, which is Washington. Washington creates its first and only match, which corresponds to the adapt number 30. In the period from March 12th to March 19th. During that period, Washington loses 5 consecutive games, and in the first opportunity, it gains 12 units. We update the field of bets made to 30. The one for bets 1 to 29, 0 lost bets. And we add these 12 to the accumulated 2102. And it gives us a total of 2,114. In summary, a single match was created. In the past results of the Washington team, also with a positive result. So we continue with Houston, skipping several teams on the list. In adapt number 31, a match was created in the period from the 1st of November to November 12th, where Houston won 5 consecutive games and then continued winning 5 more, which caused that streak to keep growing. And we lost the first 5 plays. But in our 6th opportunity, Houston loses, and we won 877 units. Then he creates his second match, which corresponds to the adapt number 32, in the period from December 2nd to December 13th. During that period, Houston loses 5 consecutive games, and in the first play, they win 12 more, for a subtotal of 889 units. Subsequently, it creates its third and final concordance, which corresponds to the adapt number 33, in the period from January 8th to January 15th. Houston loses 5 consecutive games, and on the third play, they win 57 more, for a total of 934 units. We updated the field of bets placed to 33. The number of bets won is now 32. We add these 934 to the 2,114 accumulated, giving us a total of 3,048 units. In summary, 3 matches were created in the past results of the Houston team, and in all 3, we had positive results. But at this point, many must be asking the same question: why I didn't continue the test in strict sequential order with the next team? Well, there are 2 reasons. The first is that I already tried it, and this is what happened. Positive results were obtained with all 30 teams. I mean, 0 lost bets. And the second reason is that all of you are already trained to do it independently, so that on their own, they can finish trying it out, and thus confirm what I'm saying. Now pay close attention. Just like I did in the NBA, I also tried it in the last regular seasons of the 12 teams that make up the Women's National Basketball Association, and in the more than 300 teams that make up the University Basketball Association. Additionally, they provided all the teams that make up the professional league and university American football. And this is what happened. Positive results were always obtained. I mean, no bets were lost. Remember that the entry with can't block, it does not apply in the leagues where baseball is played or ice hockey, and that it only applies in the leagues where basketball is played, American football and soccer, only in the ATS betting format, which is also called spread or handicap. And with this, we have finished our first day of the challenge. But what comes next? I mean the next day or day number 2. Well, on this second day of the challenge, first we are going to update the Oaken bets, reviewing the results of their matchups. And then we are going to continue with the entry techniques, in which there are 22 different ways to apply an entry and end the growth of the streak. So the name of the second entry is 8 Cont. And it also comes with a map that serves as our guide for when we are applying this entry. But the step-by-step description of your process will be pending for this second day. What it aims to show you: a successful formula for winning that has already been tested. Remember that we are going to manage professionally sports betting, and our promise is that you will discover how to earn more than 400% each year. without relying on luck, and without being affected by volatility, applying the Emperor method and the 3 levels method. And this is no small challenge, because as we all know, sports betting is an unresolved global issue. And that shows is that humans in this activity have not evolved. Our goal with the challenge is that winning is possible, is to meet the need to show you results for free and guaranteed. In the past, to show and describe step by step the procedures that need to be carried out to apply an entry, and in the present, so that you can confirm independently by yourself that when applying the professional management of sports betting, consistently good results are obtained. In summary, on this first day of the challenge, a total of 33 bets were placed, of which 1 remained open or in process waiting for its result. A total of 32 bets were won. The total number of lost bets was 0, since none were lost, and the total accumulated profit was 3,048 units. That's all for today. And for the moment, I just want to deeply thank you all for joining this challenge. Stay tuned for day number 2, where we are going to apply 3 different new entries. I say goodbye.